You're now watching Sports Bettor's Paradise on the Bet Rivers Network.
All right, Jimmy Ott, Brandon Stokley talking some NFL as we do each and every week on the Sports Bettor's Paradise on the Bet Rivers Network. But, I mean, we got to see what the hell's going on. I mean, the psychologist industry in Denver is a waiting list. I mean, what is going on? It's depression, losing the first two games at home. Then the champs respond in a big way and take two in Minnesota. And now it's to a best-of-3 series. What is the swing been like, Brandon? You do a daily talk show there. How's it been?
It's been unbelievable. I mean, after the first two games, it looks like they might get swept. Maybe it's a 5-game series. They looked awful. Minnesota looked so good. And, you lost both of those games at home. And then now you had to go on the road and regroup. You had the Jamal Murray throwing the heat pack on the court, throwing a towel on the court at the ref. And he could have very easily been suspended. I thought he should have been suspended. They didn't suspend him. And then I don't know. This team, they won the championship last year, right? So, and they all returned, all 5 of the starters. So they got a lot of heart. Give Michael Malone and that coaching staff a lot of credit, and those players a lot of credit for coming out and making this thing a series again.
Brandon, basketball, especially shooting, is rhythm, momentum. And when an opposing team goes on a run, coach calls a timeout. Well, it was funny that the scheduling allowed Denver a timeout because you had 3 off days, Monday, and then they had Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday before they played. Because their first series went out in a sweep and in 5, as opposed to the Clippers and Mavs had to go 6, so they had that little bit of a space there. It's almost like they got their timeout, and almost like the T-Wolves got to run around town in Minnesota and got told how good they were so much. A little timeout, is that being talked about in Denver?
Yes, it is, and you're spot on, Jimmy. The break there for the Nuggets really helped them. Jamal Murray looks as healthy as he's been in a while with his calf injury. And you're right. Sometimes, you're getting patted on the back. You go back home, everyone telling you how great you are. You start reading your press clippings, and it gets to you a little bit. Minnesota obviously didn't come out in Game 3 like they did in the first 2 games. And they played much better in Game 4, but the Nuggets were just really, really good. So, I think that had a lot to do with this series and how it's kind of turned, that little break there that the Nuggets had.
We've been having some fun with the NBA's or the Bet Rivers, first bucket of the game there, first bucket bet and get a promotion because we just missed on some Jalen Brunson first buckets. And, the Indiana Pacers, it's just so weird because, there's jump balls. There's no possession arrow in the NBA. So if you lose the tip, well, you get the first possession of the second and fourth quarter. That's not as many possessions as the NFL, but still, it's almost like, okay, we'll defer and just let them have the tip. The last 16 out of 17 games, the Pacers have lost the tip. So it'll be interesting as we try and find the Nick who's going to score the first bucket. Think you know who's going to set the tone for the game? Make the bet at Bet Rivers, and you'll pick up an extra bonus with the first bucket bet and get promo. All through the NBA playoffs. Place a wager on who will make the first basket of any NBA game. When you do, Bet Rivers will give you a profit boost to use in another bet. Depending on your loyalty level, you get anywhere from at least as 25% and as much as 100%. See the Bet Rivers app for full details of the first bucket bet and get promo going on right now. Let's talk about football, and we're going to focus on the NFC East. And this is we're on the same page here. I reach out to Brandon. I say, okay, give me the team that you have a really strong opinion on how they did in the offseason with their acquisitions and maybe their losses and additions to their roster and how they did in the draft. And, boy, we're on the Philadelphia Eagles. How about this division, the NFC East? Is there something to this? Maybe the first-place schedule, a little bit of it. It's a little bit more weighted because they added a 17th game. But no repeat winner in the NFC East since the Philadelphia Eagles did it, Brandon, in 2003, 2004. Philadelphia at Bet Rivers, plus 120. Dallas, basically the same, plus 125. And then the long shots, the Commanders at plus 900 and the Giants at plus 1,000. Your thoughts on the Eagles?
Yeah, I really love what the Eagles have done this offseason. They invested in offensively, right? And to put some weapons around Jalen Hurts there. Obviously, they went out and got Saquon Barkley. I think that's a He's a game changer. He's not someone that everything has to be right around him. He can help you in the running game. He can help you in the passing game. He's a home run hitter, right? And so now you pair that with they re-signed both of their wide receivers. Both those guys are going to be happy, right? Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown. So you got those two big-time threats there. And I like the addition of Devontae Parker there as their third wide coming over from New England. So, and then Dallas Goedert playing the tight end position, and a really good football player. So sometimes you have the Super Bowl hangover there, and it kind of seemed like something happened there middle of the season with Philly late in the season, and they just weren't the same football team. So, but I like what they've done offensively and making a couple additions, re-signing a couple guys, and so I think that hangover, you have a long off season, and you lost the Super Bowl. Now they're kind of regrouping and retooling a little bit, and so I like what they did. Also defensively, getting a couple cornerbacks there, helping that secondary out.
Yes.
Bringing over Bryce Huff from the Jets, young pass rusher there. So I like Philly in this situation. You also look at the Cowboys and what they have going on there. They got guys that want to get paid, man. Hey, Jerry, is Jerry going to pay them? Is Jerry not going to pay them? Are they going to be happy? Philly took care of their guys. They're all happy. I don't know about Dallas. I don't know if they're going to be happy. You're going to have some holdouts. What's going to be going on there with all of those contracts with Micah Parsons, CeeDee Lamb, and Dak Prescott? So I'm just not sure of what that's going to look like heading into training camp into the season, if they're going to be happy or not with their contract situation. And then you don't even have to really worry about Washington and the Giants.
Right. A completely new roster at Washington, a completely new ownership. So they are basically starting from scratch. So many new players. And the Giants, kind of fool's gold. Kind of winning with smoke and mirrors. Look, Daboll did a great job getting that team to the divisional round. No question about it. Pat him on the back. But that roster was not a typical team that makes it that far in the playoffs, and they showed that last year. So and when we handicap, I look at best case scenario, look at worst case scenario. When I look at the Eagles, what happened the second half of the season last year? Well, it seemed like some things were they come on Monday night in Seattle and they say, well, we got a new defensive coordinator in the middle of the season, like 9-10 games in. Wait, what? So what happened last year to this unit that roster does seem so talented?
It really is, and that's the million-dollar question. From the outside looking in, you just really couldn't pinpoint what was going on because they started the season so well, and then all of a sudden it just kind of imploded. And so, don't know what was going on in the locker room with the coaches. But sometimes you take a step back, and like I said, you lost that Super Bowl, and things just kind of slowly eroded for them. And but now you have an off season to kind of fix things, correct things. I believe they do have a new offensive coordinator there with Philly. So, it's kind of time to flip and turn the page from the Super Bowl loss, and now you got a year to do that. And I do. I like the additions. I like the re-signings. And you have a division where it's really a two-team race there with them and Dallas. And I like them taking care of their guys. And Dallas, you just don't know what's going to be going on there. The uncertainty of the Cowboys this year.
We've had a million conversations on my radio show down here about Jalen Hurts. Is he good? Is he any not that good? I'm sitting there watching him as the SEC Player of the Year, and I'm Offensive Player of the Year. I was like, is this guy any good? He's throwing, screen Lane Kiffin just didn't trust him throwing the ball downfield. He threw extended handoffs laterally all game long. It was a supporting cast, And that was the thing with Philadelphia. He had a great offensive line, great weapons at skill position. Great running game. And Steichen put him in a spot where they were you had to respect his legs a little bit. You're trying to extend his career, and they tried to make him more of a pocket passer. And, he's not there yet. But Hurts, we've had a million conversations. He's been the benefit. What if he had Carolina supporting cast last year? I don't care who you are. Nobody's doing anything with that. Everybody wants to kill Bryce Young. That's fine. We're all quick to rush to judgment on quarterbacks in the NFL. But where are you on Hurts?
I like him. I think he's a competitor. I think he works his tail off. And like you said, they do have some good weapons around him. Last year, he got banged up. Something with that knee. He just didn't quite look the same. And, did they try to make him more of a pocket quarterback after that to try to keep him healthy? Maybe they did. His mobility just didn't look the same there towards the end of the season. So I think that had something to do with it also. But no, I do. I like Jalen Hurts a lot. And, sometimes when the season ends the way that it did for Philly, you kind of, you go back to work in the offseason and say, all right, there's a lot of doubters out there. Everybody was crowning him after the Super Bowl run, and then now everybody's doubting him. I believe in that guy. I think he's a great football player. I think he's a hard worker. I think he's a really good teammate. Seems like that from the outside. And they got the players around him to help him out. And like I said, I think that addition of Saquon Barkley, a lot of teams don't want to pay running backs, but when you got a difference maker like that, to be able to now just hand the ball off, and he can make 2 or 3 guys miss, run over a guy, and take it 80. So they didn't really have that last year. I like Swift, but he's not Saquon. So I do believe in Jalen Hurts. I think he's a really good quarterback.
Yeah, Sanders, Swift, and Gainwell have produced at that position, certainly. I mean, that's a good offensive line. You're losing a good one now in Kelsey. I mean, and, also a guy in the locker room. But what I know about Hurts is ain't a whole lot of quarterbacks that want to even try to get close to squatting 600 pounds. So, I mean, he's a tough guy, too. I mean, he is. And they still have that, that Bush push, whatever you want to call it, the rugby scrum. It's still legal this year for the Philadelphia Eagles. We throw out stats a lot, and I try to be sort of I like to be a connoisseur of stats a little bit. Okay, that really doesn't mean anything. This does. The stat I opened up with this one. No repeat divisional champion since 2003, 2004. Does that mean anything? Does it apply here?
I don't think so. I think they're always one-offs. It's just kind of, to me, it's a coincidence that stuff happens. But you're right. If you won it the year before, guess what? You're playing a first-place schedule the next year, and it becomes a little bit more difficult. And that division, has been a pretty good division probably for the last 20 years. And, there's a lot of competition there year in and year out. So, we'll see what it looks like this year. But I think it's a 2-team race here with Dallas and Philly, and I'm willing to push my chips in on Philly this year.
Well, when things are this tight, which they kind of have been in the regular season between these two teams, I do like a little bit of an advantage, and that is Philadelphia. We'll have to see how it plays out, but it'll probably be an easier schedule. And so when you're that tight, you're going to have, I think, a better team, way more solid front office, the more stable front office than the sideshow, just trying to sell tickets so people come in to tour the facility in Dallas. But and also the mindset, the hunger reset. Okay, they didn't win it last year. You talked about sort of that Super Bowl loser hangover. That is, it's happened a lot. It's got to be something to it. And so all of those things, it's funny. One of your favorite picks, future picks, is one of mine as well. Philadelphia to win the NFC East at plus 120. Let's go get them. Get them Nuggets home in 7 for us, please. We need that one as well. For Brandon Stokley, I'm Jimmy Ott here in the Sports Bettor's Paradise on the Bet Rivers Network. All right, always good to talk to Brandon Stokley, catching up with the NFL. Tremendous insight for a guy with a couple of Super Bowl rings. And guy we've had on the radio show for years as well. Let's get to the NBA and some of the prices that we're looking at. Here we go. So the 3 series that are 2 apiece. All 3 series, every series, but, the Celtics and Cavaliers are 2-2. I like them to go 7 in all 3 of them. Looking at the Pacers in 7 at plus 300. Pacers actually favored down in this series. It's just taking its toll. There's no doubt. Expect a big effort in Game 5 out of the Knicks. The best scenario is for the Knicks to win Game 5. You have a middle in Game 6, and then let's go. We'll see if we can take it, excuse me, in Game 7. So the Pacers in 7 at plus 300. We know they've been close in a couple of games in New York already. The Nuggets in 7. So this thing is flopped. All 4 games are won by the visiting team. I think it's going to be the different. It's going to flip now. I'm looking for all the home teams now to hold serve. Denver in Game 5, Minnesota in Game 6, and then Denver again, the champs, in Game 7. Plus 175 at Bet Rivers right now. The Nuggets in 7. Then Oklahoma City in 7 at plus 225. Boy, the mid-range game was there. Dallas was really struggled at the free throw line. But what really is huge in this one, Luka Doncic is not even close. He looks like he's aged 10 to 15 years with this injury right now. So Oklahoma City, the younger team, deep in a series in 7 plus 225. Let's see if we can hit 2 or 3 of those. Would be a nice profit. Looking at the College World Series future odds, and we'll have more College World Series and NCAA baseball tournament picks for you of plenty when that comes around, just around the corner. This is the last week of the college baseball regular season. They'll have their conference tournaments, and then we get ready for regional play. But a big one now. You look at Clemson on the board, and that was one of our picks preseason at plus 900. They went to Winston-Salem and got shellacked, and I mean beat down by Wake Forest. Wake Forest was just 12-12 in conference play going into the Clemson series, and they smashed them. This is probably a spot where Wake Forest, you get in a low spot on them. Plus 1,500 to win it all. It took a guy like Paul Skeens to knock them out of the tournament last year up in Omaha. They were set up in a winner's bracket, and LSU had to come back and beat them twice to advance to the championship series. Clemson, the team they just beat, is plus 900. So Wake Forest right now is a really good spot. Yeah, it could have had them at a higher price, last week, but we had to see some kind of farm, some kind of spark, and we got it this past week as they rout Clemson in 3. Preseason number 1 team added a very nice piece in the kid, the hard thrower and right-hander from Tennessee last year. Demon Deacons plus 1,500 is for real. Maybe they can keep surging and maybe host a regional as well. And then in our PGA $100 bankroll, well, let's start off with the saver first. And a saver on Scotty Scheffler gave us a free swing last time in the Masters. We got to start off with that again. $20 on Scheffler plus 450 to cover the rest of the bets in case he does his thing again. Then a guy that's got the second most majors in this field, and that's Brooks Koepka. Koepka right now at 16-1 plus 1,600. We're going to put $20 on Brooks Koepka. This is a field with Wade Rory's playing, Scheffler in form as well. We'll see how this mini layoff is affected him, if at all. But it's probably going to take an elite guy to beat maybe Rory in form or Scheffler. Well, can't get any more elite than Jon Rahm, huh? Rahm at plus 1,800 right now. No wins in the live, but a bunch of top 10s. Give us Rahm plus 1,800 for $30. And then a little gimmick bet here, but come on, man. This course is tough. It's a major. No holes in one. Minus 143. $30 on no hole in one in the tournament at minus 143. That's your $100 bankroll for the PGA. I'm Jimmy Ott here in the Sports Bettor's Paradise on the Bet Rivers Network.